Welcome back to the 25 Days of Flows, the Power Automate Advent Calendar. Here we are at day 18, and we are ready to do something with multiple connectors today. We're actually going to do something typical. So when you join a new team, sometimes what your boss will ask you to do is, can you give me a little bio about yourself so I can introduce you to the team? Well, there are apps for that, and there are flow templates that help with this. But today we're going to build a flow from scratch that will enable you to post a bio to any team's channel. And so this bio can leverage things from Office 365 users and from the photo that you upload and the bio that you add. So you can decide which bio you want to share with which team's instance. And when you do this, and when you make this kind of a flow as you download it, you are welcome to share it run only with everyone so that they can use it too. And we'll talk about that as well. So today's flow is send a new member bio to Teams. And this is going to be leveraging a button. This is best in the default environment. This way it will show in your flow apps, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go take a peek at our connectors first. So we're going to use a button, so that's pretty straightforward. We're also going to use SharePoint. SharePoint in this case is only going to be used to act as a bucket place where I can store the folders. If you store in SharePoint, in the SharePoint for a Teams instance, then it will show up in the files even in Teams. And then finally, we're going to use Office 365 users to get any profile information we might want to reuse. And we're going to inject an adaptive card. So the adaptive card that we're going to use today is a read-only card, but it will have a link to your LinkedIn page, okay, to make it even more snazzy. All right, let's head over to Flow. So I'm going to start with a blank flow, and all I'm going to do is put a button in it. So that's one of our built-in connectors, and there is my button. Now I'm going to add two prompts here. One for the photo itself that you want to share. So I'm going to add the photo here. And then I'm going to add a text area for the bio itself. All right, so these are the two prompts the user will get. I'm also going to name this bio to Teams. Really easy name. And I'm going to add a step. And this step is going to get all my extra information. So I'm going to add Office 365 users. I'm going to actually sorry, I had clicked on the wrong one. Sometimes I click before it stops moving. But I'm so sorry. Office 365 users. Kind of like that football that Lucy had, you know. Anyway, Office 365 users. And now I'm going to choose Get User Profile. This will give us any profile information of the person who uses the Flow button. So if you share this run only, then they will be able to use this button. But when they press the button, when they kick it off, then they will be able to, then we'll pick up in the flow who pressed the button. So just to show you, let's go back a screen here to the details page of this flow. Notice that you have run only users here. Anybody in here may use the flow as well as you. And you can decide, so let's say I give this flow to Tulsi. She's not in my organization. Let's give this to Jay. All right, so Jay is now able to use this flow. But now I can decide if I want Jay to use my connections that are built into this flow, or if they can use the connections that they have. So I can make that decision. How am I sharing this button? You must use your connections, or you may use my connections. All right, so I will have him use his own connections and then press save. This is one of my favorite things about buttons. Buttons allow you to share on a run-only basis. And Jay, although he can now run this button on his own connections, he cannot edit this flow. He can only run it. And so that protects my flow from consumers that may not know how to configure flow. Okay, with that said, let's keep going. All right, so we've got our button with our 2 prompts, and we've got our user profile to get any profile information. And for the UPN, you can use the username or the user ID, and that's available also in the button. I always brag about this for those of you that haven't heard me brag. The button gives you out of the box a ton of stuff. It gives you their city, their state, the date that they're doing this. It gives you address, longitude, latitude, postal code, state, timestamp, user email, username. So all of that you get for free. Now, the only thing is, if you're going to be a location aware, then they have to accept that. So the device will prompt them, do you mind if Flow uses your location? They have to say, agree to their location being used. Otherwise, that won't work. Okay, so that's kind of important. People sometimes miss the message. But in any device you're using, you must agree to your location being shared, and so that's the only way you'll get those correctly. All right, so now we've got that. I'm going to add a variable here, and my variable is going to be for my LinkedIn link. So this is just I didn't mean to choose increment. So let's go back and choose. So I type variable, which will show me them all. And then which one I want is initialize. All of your all your variables need to be initialized at the start of the flow. It also makes it easier to update them if you need to change the parameters, okay? So I'm going to name this var LinkedIn profile URL. I'm going to make this a string. Up here, I'm just going to name this variable holding LinkedIn URL. Okay, simple. And now I'm going to put that LinkedIn. So I don't have to do a set if all I'm going to do is put the answer there and it's not going to change. I can just put it in the value. So I'll go over to LinkedIn and grab my profile URL. And put this in here. So this is just for this flow. Let's assume this is for me, and I can share this. I can run this flow against any team I want. So I might actually add a team URL variable as well, because I might use this button for many different team channels. Now, if I'm sharing this button, then I might include the LinkedIn URL as one of the prompts, because at this moment, I'm not sure if we can be sure to get the right one back if we query, because there could be more than one Audrie Gordon, for instance, right? So until I figure out, which I'll try to do, or I'll give that to you as a challenge, how do we query LinkedIn to get the person's profile? I'm not even sure. I've never tried. But if this was going to be many people using this, I think the best thing to do would be to add an input right here that asks for the LinkedIn profile URL. And then we would use that as a dynamic token from the trigger. Okay, but today we're going to use my profile right there in that variable, because this is a button I'm going to use for me mostly. And so now the next thing that's going to happen is I basically have everything I need. We're going to ask for a photo and a bio. Then we need a link to the URL. Then this is for any other profile information. Okay, so now we're ready to post on Teams. So let's look through these. And if you're in Teams connector and you type adaptive, it'll bring you down to the ones that we have today. There are new ones coming out soon, but this is what we have today. And these are read-only, which means that when we post them on Teams, people can read them. They can click on links as well, which you'll see, but they won't be able to respond to forms yet. And that is something I've promised you that you saw at Ignite, and it's coming soon. All right, so today we're going to do a read-only card. I'm going to do this card on my team site called Adaptive Cards, and I have a channel dedicated as well called New Join Photos. All right, so I've done a lot of work here in a couple of seconds. Let's go ahead and store that just in case our internet drops or something. And off we go to build the card. So I'm going over to adaptivecards.io, which is where you can see the adaptive card designer. Once you get to adaptivecards.io, link will be in the description. You can click on designer. If you use the link that I give you in the description, you'll automatically be sent to the designer. First thing I'm going to do for this simple card is I'm going to go ahead and use one of the existing samples that they have because it's really close. The restaurant sample. You know why? Because it has a picture, it has some text, it's got some big text. This is probably more than I'll need for my bio. So it's a great start. I don't need the pizza up here at the top, so I can just hit that X and remove that control. And then here I have a container here, and you can see that I have a column set, and I have these two columns, and I have a button. All right, and you can see here in the middle, I have a column that I'm on. This is what I have selected. And then there's another column over here that has an image. And then I have a more info button right here. Now the more info button is what's going to the LinkedIn profile. So sometimes I'll put placeholders here so that I can easily find them when I get ready to put the dynamic tokens in flow. So I just call this LinkedIn profile. And then I don't need Matt said. I'm just going to say bio. And then in the bio area, I'm just going to put in brackets bio because that'll remind me to replace this with the tokens. Okay, so now I've got bio. So, and that's fine. Bio. And then this one is going to go to the LinkedIn profile. This is going to be my photo that I uploaded. And so I have a URL there. That's good enough as a placeholder for me. So I'm basically good with this. I don't need this little bit here. And maybe I'll use that for my first name. So just kind of working through the card very slowly and kind of making sure it has what I need. So it has all the things that are ready to receive tokens in flow. And then I think I'm good to go. So now I'm going to go over to the card payload editor. That's a familiar word to flow users. And we'll go to edit your flow. And in the message area, we're going to place that JSON. And the only thing we're going to change in it are the places that we have placeholdered. Okay, so I want my first name right here. So I'm going to highlight it and delete it. And then I'm going to use my dynamic token from my user profile to get my display name. Okay, so now I've inserted my display name there. The next thing I want to fill out is the bio. So I'm going to delete my placeholder and I'm going to go down to the button, so the trigger, and get what they entered in for the bio. Next, it wants the actual image from what I uploaded. So what we did in this case, and I'll tell you why, is what we didn't finish doing yet. Okay, let's do this now. What I'm going to do is as soon as they start the button, I'm actually going to, and we can do it right here. It doesn't matter where we do it. Before we post, we're going to store this on SharePoint. Now you could store it on OneDrive or your favorite place where you like to keep files. But the reason I've chosen to do it this way is because once I store it on SharePoint, the beautiful thing is I don't have to worry about converting images to binary and base 64 and all that fun stuff that advanced users like to do. Instead, I can just post this photo on SharePoint and then use the link to SharePoint to get it. And I'll have the content and I'll have the thumbnail. So I get 3 things just from posting it on SharePoint that I don't get out of the box just by using the button. So then sometimes you have to actually do conversions to get photos in this right state of mind for you to use them in many cases. So I'm going to put this in my Adaptive Cards SharePoint site, and the reason is because that's the same site as the Teams, so it'll be in the Teams files. Therefore, I can put it in the pictures library, or I could have put it in the default document library. Let's put it in default document library because the advantage there is that it will be on Teams as well. So I'm just going to name this photo. And then if I want, I can put something unique next to it, like the timestamp. But I think in this case, we're okay with just photo. And then the file content I can get from the button. So I go back to the button. Here's the file content. So now I've created the file. And this is really, at this moment, just my way of having a holding place for all of the photos that are uploaded. But I'm going to show you the best thing to do with these photos after you use them in your card. So let's just go ahead. Let's see if I can put a timestamp after this. I'm trying to think of the best. Timestamps seem to have a change lately. I'm going to go look at it closely after we upload this. And now I'm also going to add the get file properties. So I'm going to get the file properties for this file that I just uploaded. I think I've done this with you before. And my only reason is I want the link to the photo. In this case, I don't want the link to the photo. In this case, I actually want the thumbnail of the photo. So I'm going to do get file properties. And by just configuring this to the same site and the same library, I should be fine. Where did I put it? Share documents, so let's use documents. And then the ID of that is the ID for create file. So now basically what this does is it updates my dynamic content, so it has a lot of different fun stuff in it. And what I want for the image that I'm going to share on this adaptive card is I don't want whatever adaptive cards gave me. I want the thumbnail of the file we uploaded. Okay, and you can see that there's 3. I'm going to use large. And then down here, the LinkedIn profile, we're going to replace that with the variable that we put at the top for the LinkedIn profile. And I think that's all we have to worry about. This is good to go. Anybody see me miss something? I'm going to run a test. I even have a little bio here. So I will copy that bio out, continue. And first thing I will do is select a photo, which is just going to be a photo that I have handy of myself. And then I'm going to paste the bio in there. And then I'm going to run the flow. It's going to run fairly quickly. And it will post the adaptive card to the Teams. And it just did that just now. So really simple to do, right? Basically, you just inject your dynamic tokens in the card that you make from the designer. People like myself, we actually keep a whole repository of JSON for adaptive cards. And so I have a repository of JSON for that. And I love using them, so they're really easy to use. Now, the more info here is a URL, because we didn't give you a submit button yet. You could put one on the card, but if you click it, it'll just give you an error because we haven't given you continuation yet, where you can actually get information from what they did with the card. But it's coming, I promise. If I click more info here, because I tied it to my LinkedIn profile, then it will open my LinkedIn profile in a separate tab. Interesting thing to know about this is that if you are in the browser like I am right now, you're opening up a new tab. So you have to go back to the tab for your Teams or back to the tab for Flow. But on the phone, what's really nice is you get a little message at the top that says back to Flow, and it takes you back. So I really like that. All right, so that's the story. Now I'm going to add one more piece to this story before we close up today. A really smart thing to do at this point, if this is a new employee, is to add one more step with the Office 365 users. I don't know how many of you have used this step, but to me it's golden, because one of the hardest things to get new people to do is to update their profile in Office 365. But guess what? The Office 365 users has an update my profile photo action. And so basically all you have to do is pop in there the content that they put in that button. Now, the only suggestion that I would make on this before you actually do it is make sure that you indicate in the button, if it's not you, it's somebody else using this button, that this will also update their profile. Just so that in case they're getting funny and they send you a picture of Bugs Bunny, they realize that their whole Office 365 profile will be showing Bugs Bunny. Make sure that they know this. And then you can update their profile right after you post a card. Another example of getting more than one thing done with a flow, right? Flows should accomplish multiple things at the same time, which optimizes what our processes can do. So, again, I wish you the happiest holidays, and I will see you tomorrow at the, how many? It will be the 19th day of the 25 days of flows. I hope you're enjoying this series, and I'll see you tomorrow.